we've got Rochelle. Rochelle Johnson is the energy specialist at the World Bank. And beside her is Deputy MD for ATL Automotive Group, Stephen Hector. And of course, ATL is one of the sponsors for our Climate Action Conference and Expo today. So, clap them again for me, please. Okay, I'm hearing. So, with this conversation, we are trying to discover how we can get to 100% renewable energy use by 2050. Do you think we can make it to 100%? Maybe. That's the aim. That's what we're going to be exploring. We also want to know about EVs and can we get to 67% by 2050? What solutions are there and what roles do young people play in creating these solutions? So we're going to start with JPS. Dion Nugent, in like 60 seconds, give us an idea of what you do at JPS, please, and the eDrive campaign in particular.
Awesome. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's actually fantastic to be here at JPS's Climate Action Conference 2024. I am the director with responsibility for business development in JPS, an engineer.
Engineer by training.
Yes, engineer by training. And I found myself in this exciting area of business development that includes renewables as well as electric mobility. Don't ask me about cars, but it just says that it's for everybody. We all have to be interested in what our Jamaica and its tomorrow looks like.
Okay, I love that. It seems, well, JPS is a company that makes its money from the production of energy. So why is it important for you to be supporting now lower emissions in the energy and transportation sectors?
Paul, I tell you something. I went through Hurricane Beryl a few months ago. I think more than ever as a utility, we are reminded that we are not immune from the impacts of climate change. And it reinforced and reaffirmed the requirement, the necessity, the obligation of our company as a leader in the energy space to continue to drive for more sustainable energy options. This is not an if, this is a must. And we believe that we must be a part of driving the transformation to get to a more sustainable Jamaica of tomorrow. We know the effects. We don't have to ask anyone else. As a business, as a company, as Jamaicans, we know.
I saw what you did there, Madam eDrive, driving this search for solutions. What are some of the tangible ways that JPS is supporting this transition to more renewable energy options?
So, as JPS, we have been involved in looking at new energy solutions over many decades. You know, a lot of people don't know, Paula, but we were in renewables from a long time, decades ago. Hydros is where we started. And when the country, through the governments of the day, started to push for more renewables, clearly renewables have to be integrated into our grid. So we became a very important partner in ensuring that as we expand renewables, we are able to integrate it into the grid to ensure reliability to our customers and, of course, security to the grid. So we are now at 12%. JPS has also been very active in decarbonizing the generation fleet. We started that by transitioning our fleet from heavy fuel oil, which is, the emission levels are really not good. And we started that transition to liquefied natural gas, which is a cleaner fossil fuel. It's not renewable, but you can't get any closer to renewable than that. So we believe that we not only must facilitate and partner, we have to be a part of the solution. So those are two examples. And I just want to highlight for my team members that have gone before, energy storage is a big part of what we think our future will look like at the grid level. if you're going to be increasing renewable penetration on the grid, we have to be talking about storage. And so we're looking at all the combos of solutions that are going to get us to this national target as it relates to a more sustainable tomorrow.
All right, so we understand. And I didn't know that you were leading in so many ways and from so long ago. I love that. We should be moving on, but I want to ask you quickly, in like 60 seconds.
Yeah, but me answer quick.
We've heard from other people, but I want to hear from you. How do we as average citizens and even as students who may not be in charge of the households that we inhabit, how do we improve energy efficiency in our own spaces?
You know, it is every individual's individual responsibility. So what we're saying, first thing, energy conservation. If you don't need to use it, don't use it. Turn it off, flip it off. One of the things that I've also tried to practice personally, Paula, is when I go into stores and I'm buying electrical appliances, I'm looking at that little specification. How much energy does this device really use? You would be surprised. And so we're saying that in your own home, your behavior, when you're going into purchase, look at that. And in fact, begin to review what you already have at home. Is this a device that if I was able to replace it, that bill could come down, that energy consumption should come down. Some very easy things that we can do and bring them into our everyday lives.
And I like the first one. If you don't need it, don't use it. Nice and simple.
There you go.
We do need to hear from our next panelist. Thank you. And Madame Heslop, 60 seconds. What you do, who you are. Hello, Tanique Heslop.
Hi, everyone. I am, as she said, Tanique Heslop. I work as the NDC. As we said, what is NDC? Anybody remember? No?
Remember I
Alright,
told you this
not
unusual NDC.
So it's their nationally determined contributions, something that Jamaica has signed on to as a part of the Paris Agreement to submit every 5 years. So a part of my role is that Jamaica is a member of the NDC partnership, and as a membership, they can ask for support, embedded support, in a government agency to track and to help to bring financing and support towards our climate initiatives. So I am that support within the Climate Change Division of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
All right, now that's very important support. Thank you. Along those lines, could you help us understand when you are looking at this, you are looking at it in the context of clean energy as something we are aspiring toward. What is clean energy? Well, actually, let me hold off and keep that one for Rochelle. Let's go back to some of the target areas in our NDCs between now and 2050.
All right, so as Ms. Nugent would have said, Jamaica is moving towards a 50% renewables in their energy mix. And as a part of that, the main thing with our nationally determined contributions is reducing our GHG emissions, which are our greenhouse gases, right? And as a part of that, Jamaica has made a declaration which was very ambitious. Actually, in our NDCs that were submitted in 2020, we were actually the first country in the Caribbean, first small island developing state to actually submit, and it was a very ambitious to have at least 25% to 26.8% conditional reduction in our emissions, which is what we're working towards. So that is the main target, and our Prime Minister, before it used to be 30%, but our Prime Minister said, no, we need to be more ambitious and have a more ambitious energy mix, and for it to be 50%. So and even further, we're also aiming for the country to be, by 2060 or 2050 at least, net zero. So that means, as she said before, we need everyone to be a part of the process. Because we have to transition so many different things for us to be able to get to a net zero emissions.
Are those realistic targets, though?
It's hard. And I'm not going to say, Jamaica has always been ahead of the curve. And even though we are not the greatest emitters, and we're not even, our emissions levels in global is like 0.2% or something like that. But we are dedicated as a country to do what we can towards these global goals, right?
Okay.
So with that, we can find ways, and there are specific things that we're already doing in terms of the first one with energy, right? Going to our target of 50% renewable energy mix, right? Then we also have energy efficiency programs within the government. We have forestry with the planting of 3 million trees. We have, even within NWC, having, no net loss, not no net loss, but in terms of energy efficiency, in terms of water reduction, making sure that we're not losing, because actually water is actually one of the biggest users of energy. So if it is that we make even the National Water Commission more efficient, that will help us greatly towards these targets.
So we're mentioning these things, but we're mentioning things that adults in charge of households
Right.
are responsible for and impacting. Look at who's here today, our high schoolers. They're going to be those decision makers of 2050. So how can they become involved in this process of achieving those targets?
As we're saying, we have to make an individual effort so that even if you see, as high schoolers, you can influence your parents some way. So if it is that you are knowing that you're going to turn off the light after you come out of a room, knowing that if it is that your parents are deciding to buy a car, if it is affordable, maybe you can try to convince them to get an EV. Become a part of our environmental clubs, climate change initiatives, and be a part of the change, because it's not just a whole of government approach, it's a whole of society approach. So everyone has to do their part in order for us to get to these big goals.
So you are saying be a part of the conversation in different ways, in different arenas. Let them hear the voices, those of us that are young people. I'm young at heart. So let them hear our voices in the conversations. And today is a great place to start and to understand how we can be a part of that. Thank you. Now, as we continue the conversation, we go to the lady who's the expert on clean energy, Rochelle Johnson. Hello, can you tell them please who you are and your role as energy specialist?
Thanks, Paula. So I'm Rochelle Johnson, energy specialist at the World Bank. So what that does mean in a nutshell is that I work with governments across the different Caribbean countries to support their energy transition. So for example, in Jamaica, we're working with the government to reach the goals as both Tanique and Dion had mentioned in terms of the renewable target, 50% by 2030.
Now, as we understand your role, let's attach it now to clean energy and what you think are clean energy, not what you think, but what we need to understand as being clean energy sources.
Thanks, Paula. So clean energy is the same as renewable energy, which means that those energy sources have little to zero emissions. So Dion would have mentioned liquefied natural gas. That would have been considered renewable because it does have some emissions behind it. So we will consider clean energy sources such as solar, wind, hydro, as Dion mentioned. That's something JPS would have done in the past. As well as in some Eastern Caribbean countries, we have geothermal, which is a more base load, clean energy. And here in Jamaica, we have already been advancing and moving towards the target and integrating renewable sources.
Now, I know in the newscast I was reading the other day, I heard mention of nuclear energy, but I don't hear you say anything about that. That's clean energy for us too.
Paula, what a tricky question
On
to
the
ask.
spot.
You're putting me here in the hot spot. But based on science and knowledge research, nuclear energy is deemed to be a clean energy source.
So that's something we can look at exploring, generally.
If the economic and feasibility studies deem nuclear energy viable for the Jamaican context, then that's something the government may want to support, which they have indicated they have already started doing the research.
All right, good answer. Thank you. Let's move now to some of the innovative solutions that exist in the energy sector that we think work. I love the way you answered a while ago in the context of what works for Jamaica. So what solutions are there globally that you think may work for us?
So the unique thing about Jamaica is that we have already started on this trajectory. Jamaica was the first country to have a wind farm known as Wigton Wind Farm, which is now Wigton Energy. We were the first country to do a hybrid battery storage. We know Dion mentioned storage, which is going to be critical as we roll out clean energy sources to ensure that the grid is stabilized. We have also here in Jamaica we have a floating solar done by NWC. So I would say that we're at the forefront of innovation, and we have been testing out the different technologies that are suitable and viable for our context. So we have sun 365. I mean, yes, we do have some rain here and there. We have wind. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but nonetheless, the conditions of our tropical country makes it viable for solar, wind, hydro, and other technologies, as mentioned before.
So then, if we look at our avant-garde reputation, we're in the forefront of these things. Do you really believe that by 2050, we can achieve that target, 100% renewable energy?
So as Tenny mentioned, the government has put forward some very ambitious plans to reach net zero by 2050. We're currently at 12% renewable. However, I'm optimistic that if the government continues on their ambitious demonstration efforts, that we will reach close to it. I don't guarantee that we might get there by 2050. Recently, the government announced the winners for the 100 megawatt RE tender that we issued last year.
What that mean?
So it means, therefore, we'll be getting additional renewable energy sources onto our grid, and they should be launching another 168 megawatt technology agnostic, which means that regardless of the different renewable sources, as long as it's viable for the country and it can meet the 168 megawatt plus storage, then that can be considered. In addition, JPS will be decommissioning their 171 megawatt, and they have committed to do renewables. Is that correct, Dion?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we are moving towards the target. The government is also moving towards the target. So once we continue with that positive effort and demonstration, we should get close to that net zero by 2050.
I like the positive thinking. The glass is 3/4 full. If we stay on that trajectory, that's what that's sounding like.
Sounding good.
I want to pull a little away from this focus and move to the support that's available from the World Bank in particular. How is it that the World Bank is supporting these initiatives that we're using to transition to a low emissions future?
Great question. So before I get to Jamaica, I would say that the World Bank has a mandate to support these type of clean energy initiatives and climate initiatives. The government of Jamaica has the strategies in place, and we see the political appetite to integrate as many renewable energy sources as possible. Currently, the World Bank does not have investment projects with the government of Jamaica as it relates to renewable energy. However, we are working with the regulator, which is the Office of Utilities Regulation, as well as the Generation Procurement Entity, to define the enabling regulatory policies to attract private investment to our country to invest in renewable energy. So we're working.
I was asking what's the summary about the enabling regulatory policies. You're working with the government to make it happen.
That's correct. So the enabling environment will help to ensure that the policies are there that private investors are looking for, so that once the government should issue a tender, the right conditions are available for them to bring the investment to Jamaica.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And now we're going to move to our sponsor from the ATL Automotive Group, Sir Stephen Hector. Can you introduce yourself a little for us and tell us what ATL is doing toward this whole emissions reduction in the transportation sector? Hang on one second, let's see if we can switch.
Thanks. She warmed it up nicely for me. Thank you. Thank you very much, Paula. Stephen Hector, I'm the Deputy Managing Director of the ATL Group. We're obviously one of the leading car automotive companies in the Caribbean, the largest in Jamaica. So obviously we have a big stake in what happens in electric mobility. So we're supporting these guys here. We now have 10 new car brands at the automotive group. The largest car manufacturers in the world. Each of them are bringing their own electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles to the market. And our job really is to embrace those new models, embrace the new technology, and start to push the education of those new models, the understanding of the technology, and also making the electric vehicles accessible for people. So, you know, when that time comes, someone wants to buy a new car, they would consider electric vehicle. And that's really our role here today. We're delighted to be here today supporting these guys. Very excited about what the future holds.
Thank you. And a part of making it accessible to us as Jamaicans means making us comfortable with the thought and feeling that we're safe, it's okay, it's not a problem. So what do you think is some of the biggest misconceptions that we as Jamaicans have about electric vehicles?
Well, it's a good question. I think the first thing is we're dealing with new technology, and in some cases, completely new brands that we're maybe not so familiar with. So there is a consumer confidence factor when it comes down to new technology. You have what they call early adopters who will be the first to throw themselves into the new technology. They want to know everything about it. And the evolution of electric vehicles has been unbelievable. I mean, if you go back maybe even a year, 18 months ago in Jamaica, you probably had the choice of 1 or 2 electric vehicles. And now, I mean, just our group alone probably has 25, and that's just us. So there's, all of our friends in the industry will also have some. So you have a much wider choice. But what's happened with the technology is when electric vehicles came out, you're talking about range. So range anxiety is a thing, but you're talking about, when they first started releasing electric vehicles, maybe 100-kilometer range. Now you're talking about 500. If you have hybrids, you've got 1,400 range. So those types of misconceptions about where the cars can go, how far they can take you before you need to recharge. Certain questions about the charging infrastructure, which these guys are working hard on. I mean, we all are, and there's other, Evergo in the corner there, JPSF obviously at the forefront of that. So the infrastructure is a second thing, and that's starting to really get momentum now. There's charging stations going in pretty much left, right, and center in all 4 corners of the country. Cost of ownership is something where you tie into renewable energy and things of that nature. Those kind of misconceptions start to fade away. And then, obviously, there's just the technology, the cost of batteries and things of that. A lot of questions people have. And as, kind of organically, as you're educating people, as more people are becoming familiar with the technology, word spreads, and word of mouth is, of course, the best way of demystifying the technology and alleviating people's concerns.
And I understand, clearly, I'm Jamaican, I've been a part of some of the conversations, I understand. And when we take it back to your core role, which really is to sell motor vehicles, that's a lot to take on. Why is it that you've considered today's Climate Action Conference and Expo something that you would want to invest in the way that you have?
Well, I think the first thing is it's a brilliant initiative today. I mean, a big JPS and everyone who's supporting, all the sponsors, they've done a brilliant job here. It's a great crowd. What we're talking about here is the future. So, like I said before, you go back this time last year, you had a handful of cars. Now you've got 20, 25, 30. charging stations all over the place. But actually, you're really talking about the future. The tipping point between when people buy an electric car versus a combustion engine car, an ICE car, that's coming ever nearer now. That's going to be, sort of in the next sort of 5 or 10 years, depending on, which news outlet you read. So actually, a lot of the people in the room here today are going to be future customers for electric vehicles. That sounds a little bit self-serving, but because you're launching something that affects all of us, it really does take a huge number of people to drive the adoption of electric vehicles and anything related to new energy. You want, like I said before, that consumer confidence. Oh, there's another electric car. There's another electric car. Or my neighbour's got solar, or whatever it may be. The more that visibility and that accessibility and normality comes into play, the better. But all the people I see here today, they'll probably be when they go to buy their first car, their second car, maybe they're looking at electric car.
And they can test drive today and see how
absolutely.
that can happen.
We got loads of cars outside. My friends here are going to test drive after. You might not see them again. They might just drive off. We'll never see them again.
Oh my goodness. So it sounds to me that you have already seen yourself, ATL, as a part of that transition for Jamaica. What does that big picture look like for you? That transition to renewable energy long term?
Well, I think, like Rochelle said, it's this whole ecosystem of renewable energy. And electric vehicles is just one part of that. But when you combine some of the environmental factors in Jamaica, like the sunshine that we have. I mean, we've had a kind of rainy few months. I'm from the UK, right? So I know all about rainy few months. But when you combine the sunshine and the wind farms and all the things that the government are doing, the World Bank and all of JPS and everybody, it really is going to be one of those things where we're all going to play a part in that. And we're just excited to be part of it, to be honest with you.
Well, we're excited that you're here, particularly because we can test drive and that you have vehicles on display. Can you please tell us what some of the products are that you've brought with you today?
Well, like I said, we've got 10 new car brands. Most of them have electric cars here now. We have 10 new car brands. We just launched MG last week, the week before last. There's an MG outside. We have one of the great things about electric cars now is choice. So if you went back, like I said, a couple of years ago, if you wanted an electric car, you had to have that car. Now you have choice that means you can actually choose something based on what you like. But a shape of car that fits your lifestyle. If you've got family, a bigger car. If you want something a little sporty, you can get that. If you're on your own, you want to drive around town, you can do that too. So I think you've got everything from the BYD UAM Plus, which is a relatively new brand in Jamaican terms, not so much in other parts of the world, right the way through to Audi e-trons at the very top of the food chain, so to speak. Affordability now, you can go out. We're going to be bringing in electric cars at $5 million plus up to 20. So depending on whatever your choice is, whatever your lifestyle is, whatever you want to achieve from any car, whether it's an electric car or a gas car or a diesel car, whatever, there's choice. You have that choice now.
I was so very pleasantly surprised when I stepped in and walked down that particular avenue. I'm a pickup girl. I have an Amarok. And then I saw that one and I thought, ooh, I didn't know we had the options as well in pickup trucks. So I love that you have expanded the array of options. 10 new brands, that's a lot. And we're happy that you are able to share them with us today. So I love the thought. Even though it's a lot of students, when they are ready for their first vehicle, they can have in mind what they've seen, what they've experienced, and how a part of that can be helping as we move toward that climate resilient future. Thank you. Now, we're trying to figure out what the questions are that are coming in from social media. That's going to be coming up in a little while, but I want to ask what role you think these young people here in front, can play in creating those innovative solutions that we need if we're to achieve those targets in the energy and transport sectors. So it's a question for all of you. We can start with you, Sir Stephen.
Oh, great. Thank you. Well, I think, like I said before, we're kind of talking about the future here. And we're talking about a bunch of a bunch of dynamic young people who can make their own choices. And some even the little things we talked about here about how you can, switch a light off, make sure the fan's off, those types of things. You don't have to get into those bad habits, the kind of bad habits that I've got. I don't know about you guys, but I've got a few bad habits in the environmental side of things. So just getting into routine and making that part of, normality. I'll just turn the light off, turn something off if you don't need it, unplug this if you're going away. All those different types of choices, simple things. My personal view, and I'm not, as clued up as these guys on the environmental side of things, is that it takes a lot of people doing very small things. That will play a big thing. That would be a big part in, the future of the world. Is lots and lots and lots and lots of people doing lots of little things. And they say Jamaica, one cocoa. Yeah.
Full basket. Every mickle make a muckle. It all adds up. Thank you so much. Okay, so we can just step right across. Madame World Bank. What can we do? What can the young people here today do in creating those innovative solutions?
So I think as young people, one of the things that they can do is to coming out of this type of expo is to share the knowledge that they are learning here. Advocacy is a big part of ensuring that there's continuation. And I think it's our job to help them to raise the awareness, to equip them, to prepare them. At the end of the day, they will be the future generation, as much as we think it's cliche. But if they don't have the know-how, then there's no way for them to do. So I think as we continue to equip and to raise the awareness and to raise the knowledge among our youth, then they will be able to trickle that down to others, like among their peers, as well as to those younger, as well as the panelist has mentioned, to those even their parents. And so I think they play a key role in sharing the advocacy and to implement as much as possible where possible. I know the previous session touches on career, and I think also it's an opportunity for them to dig deeper into either the STEM field to ensure that there is different elements along the climate and energy initiative that they can dabble in.
I love that. Thank you.
I just wanted to drive that there are many options, career options, possibilities that are in this space, right? So, we, in Jamaica, we lack certain capacities, and as such, we need the young persons to get involved, to decide that they want to go and do the different degrees or even, professional certifications within this field. And there's so much scope that whatever your interest is, you could find a space within the climate change and environment space that you could get involved with. And it also starts with even just being a part of the process. So as we said, upstairs we have Girls Care, we have Jamaica Environmental Entrepreneurs, we have the Jamaica Climate Change Youth Council. These are different foundations that you can be a part of the change you want to see. So, vocalize, make sure that your voices are being heard and be a part of the process. Know that there is room for you within these in terms of career scope, and that there is money out there to fund some of your innovative ideas if it is that you want. It might not be easy at first, but there are lots of different programs that are pushing and wanting young people to show what it is that you have, because you really can't do it without you, right? We are going to age out sooner or later, and we want to know that there are so many viable young youth that will be involved taking us forward.
Again, I'm hearing young people, let your voices be heard. Be a part of the conversation. And I love that. Absolutely love that. And that's what's happening here. We're providing multiple opportunities, and one of which is for those voices to be heard. So, we go right back to our host.
I want to tell you something, that what has excited me so far in this space is the interest from the youth. Absolutely fabulous. Through our Project E-Drive, through the JPS Foundation and the IDB Lab collaboration. It has a long name, which is Building a Sustainable Electric Mobility Ecosystem for Inclusion and Access. Through that, we have really gone into the spaces with electric mobility and engaged with this high, the little ones, the teenagers, the tertiary students, and I'm telling you, the interest is high. My encouragement to my young people is don't be afraid of the technology. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. You see the vehicles here? You are the one that are going to be driving them tomorrow so that my team member here will make lots more. We will be able to demonstrate the value of these vehicles on the island. So take advantage of the opportunities that are here. Inform yourself. Through Project eDrive, we do have our website, our Instagram. We have so many places my team members have indicated where the information is there to help you to understand what is true and what is not. We did the round the island electric vehicle myth-busting tour.
That was awesome. With
Yes.
what's the name of that influencer? The guy with the spiky hair
I
and
know
the
it's a
neon
Colleen
colored
around.
car with the
Yes, driving around and say, push it to the limit.
Nicholas Lou. That's
There
his
you go,
name, yes.
right. Push it to the limit. That's what we want our young people to come out with the truth of what we are saying. So we're excited that they are here, that they are hearing us. It's not perfect today, but we're handing over a baton, Paula, to this next generation. And we're saying, get involved. Listen to what's going on. Try it out. Testing technology. We have young entrepreneurs through Project eDrive at the University of the West Indies looking at the technology around it. So we're saying, bring your brain power to the table and let's see whether the solution that works in the UK, in the United States, if we need to tweak it, if we need to adjust it for our own environment here. We think it's a very exciting time for our young people, and we know that once they get on board, this thing is just going to become huge. So youth, I'm excited already. I'm expecting it to be even bigger.
Well, the social media question just came in, and I'm happy you're excited because it's a JPS directed question.
Yeah, man.
All right, hold on. So, by the way, we're going to be turning over to CJ Sparks and DJ Spooky shortly after we have our panelists give their opinions to this question. It's really a JPS directed one, but your comments are welcome if you're brave enough to. The question is, do you think JPS should be offering more solar solutions to customers who can afford it, including residential customers?
Yes, everybody looks at me, of course. So I want to tell you that JPS has been involved in this space for many years in terms of providing solar solutions. We were one of the early movers in this space. What we have really positioned ourselves to do is to lead in this space, facilitate the technology, demonstrate that it works. If you're putting a solar system on your roof, you're normally connected to the grid. So we work and partner with the government, with our installers, our electrical inspectors, that we have the systems to make sure that your system delivers what you have paid for. Big part of the equation. So you may not see us always actively installing and providing the solutions, which we do, but we are a very important part of the ecosystem to make sure that these solutions deliver the benefits that we have projected and targeted. So I look ahead, don't count us out. We're right there, and we're trying to be very strategic in terms of how we lead in that space. We want to know that where there is a need to demonstrate the technology, Paula, that we're right there. So one of the things I can tell you that I'm looking at actively is in the agricultural space. I think that that's one of the biggest next issues. So, there's energy security and there's food security. And we think that there is a definite... Yes, there's definitely an opportunity to work together. So we're working with the Ministry of Agriculture to see how we can look at solutions that can bring double value. both in energy and in food security. So if you don't see me installing on your roof, I'm installing somewhere else.
I love it. Supporting not just the individual item or solution, but creating that enabling environment
That's
that
correct,
was
that's
mentioned
correct.
earlier. Well, we are absolutely thrilled that you were able to assist us with this conversation today. We've been trying to figure out how we can get to that 100% renewable energy use by 2050, how we can get to that 67% EV use by 2050, and to discuss what some of those innovative solutions are. And I think your contributions have all strengthened the information available in this area. So thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please. Dion Nugent, Director of Business Development with JPS. Tanik Heslop, NDC, Nationally Determined Contributions, Partnership in Country Facilitator in the ministry. Of course, Rochelle Johnson, Energy Specialist at the World Bank. And our sponsor, ATL Automotive Group's Deputy Managing Director, Mr. Stephen Hector. Thank you again. Looking forward to continuing the conversations in the different spaces.